So the subject I've chosen to speak about today is really important to me. I'm very passionate about Tantra and busting the Tantra bullshit. So Tantra has a stigma in society which saddens me. It saddens me because if we talk about Tantra or we may mention Tantra, there's straight away this presumption, this idea that Tantra is all about sex. It's about great sex. It's about lasting for hours. It's about achieving multiple orgasms, whole body orgasms. So the stigma around Tantra is very sexual and still very method orientated. Also, when I may mention the word Tantra, I can see this idea in people, and often the conversations then lead to about Tantra workshops and Tantra courses just being a free willy show. And in some environments this is the case, and again this saddens me because I often feel that in our sexuality, in our Tantra, if we have multiple and different partners that we experiment with and we experience with and we explore our sexuality, there's still only a certain depth into our sexualness and our sexual being that we're going to get to if we keep changing partners. So this free willy show is not very supportive to our sexual consciousness, the expansiveness of our sexual consciousness, as if we choose one partner to be with for a certain length of time that we explore with and experiment with and truly get to know our sexual energy with a partner. Then there's a depth that we can go to because we are able to surrender more and more into the energy of with the other, the energy of ourselves. Whereas, as I said, if there's this consistent changing of partners, then I feel there'll always be a depth that we don't go to. Often this kind of free willy show as well in Tantra is, to me, it's just something that people can still hide behind. You know, it's okay that I'm having multiple partners. It's okay that I'm exploring my sexuality because it's being used under the name of Tantra. So all these kind of things have created this stigma around Tantra, when it's not really touching the purity and the simplicity and the magic that Tantra can bring not only to our sexuality, to our sexual interactions, but also the richness it can bring to our hearts, our bodies, and the richness it can bring to our lives and our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with others, and our relationship with the world around us. Tantra includes our sexuality. And again, when we say the word sex, straight away we'll have images of sex being an act, of sex being something that we do with another. But actually, Tantra is a very individual journey. Initially, the truth of Tantra, and it's coming back. It's letting go of all the bullshit beliefs that are being suppressed and have contained our sexuality for the truth of what it is. And when we can let go of all those beliefs and all those limitations and that containment and that suppression, we come back to the simplicity and the innocence and the purity of our sexual energy, which actually, that in itself is not about an act and is not about another. It's something that most deliciously, when uncontained and unlimited, moves through and within us as something that we are nourished by, something that we thrive upon, something that fills us up from the inside out, that actually creates this feeling of joy and richness and satisfaction. So Tantra is a very individual journey initially, and then if we're able to truly connect with our sexuality for what it is and its purity and its simplicity, then when we share that with another, then of course the experience is more expansive, more mind-blowing, body-blowing, more an orgasmic experience. Even the word orgasm to Tantra, it's not really, we can have this idea of what then the orgasm will feel like. And we're using the word orgasmic because it's the closest thing we know to such purity, to such bliss, to no mind, and to this non-separation of there being just in when we're in this orgasmic bliss. There's no separation between ourselves and the world and ourselves and another. So yes, Tantra does look at our sex, but our sex as in its purest, finest, most simplest, most divine essence, rather than teaching methods just to create a better sexual performance, or teaching methods that are purely about another. Tantra includes our sexuality because it is part of our lives. It's where we came from. It's what we were made from. It's the first spark that became you. And so it's a very essential ingredient to our life. And so if we're not looking at our sexuality and that divine spark of what was the first spark of you, then there will be something always missing and unattended to and not met in our lives. So Tantra embraces our sexuality because it's part of the whole of us. We have our spirituality, we have our mind, we have our body, and we have our sexuality. So I could go on forever. I really could, because hopefully you can see and hear how passionate I am about our sexuality, how passionate I am about how Tantra creates this wonderful process of really coming back to the simplicity and the purity and the innocence of our sexuality. I'm hoping that through my sharing that I've been able to bust